Hello people, this is my first video and the first chapter 1 and the next chapter will back pretty soon, so subscribe.
The sun could set and see the two children leaning their backs against the tree that supported the swing. Hinata was genuinely weary, but Naruto stared at the road with an even breath. That did not make sense to the girl, however. I've already begun training with father and Nijimizan, but I'm even wearier than Naruto is. He truly is incredible. Before long, the two were parted. We should play more often, Naruto-kun. Those few words cost almost all of the courage the little girl had. You betcha, Hinata-chan. Naruto shouted behind him with what appeared to be his usual enthusiasm as he ran away. Bye. Today was so much fun, thanks for being my friend. Friends. Hinata said to herself while heading towards the Hyuga waiting in the road to drive her home. Kakashi glanced up from his book at the sound of the familiar rambunctious footsteps. Somehow smiling unseen but sincerely behind his mask, his eye was able to express his excitement at seeing the boy. Make any new friends today, Naruto? He asked, more out of courtesy than hope. The poor boy didn't get much good things said to him on a regular basis. Yay! Her name is Hinata and she's really nice. Kinda quiet though, but I like her. Naruto cried out while tugging on the sleeve of his uncle. Let's go on, I'm hungry for ramen. Kakashi sensed the small change in his tone, the small tremble that gave away something other than happiness. Sure thing Naruto, and I'll have Jiraiya bring us both back when he comes back. Okay. Naruto bounced around once more as they went out to buy his favorite dish. Same time tomorrow, I'm guessing. Naruto hesitated for a moment, thinking. Yeah, I think I want to return again. Kakashi once again sensed the suppressed emotion behind his favorite brat's forced smile. Likely sadness, but Kakashi couldn't quite tell. In reality, Kakashi wasn't the village's most emotionally gifted member. The loss of his father, then his teammates and then his sensei father figure had dented the young man. Naruto was the only thing he'd bothered with besides his ANBU missions and the memorial stone. As much as he loved the young boy, he was getting tired and needed to rest. Fortunately, Jiraiya was coming back in 2 days, and he could hopefully assist the blonde ball of energy. The next day, Naruto stood gaping before a flushing Ino. What do you mean you don't want to be friends with me? It is not that I don't want to, it just is that my daddy says that you're no good, the blonde girl told him. But why doesn't he like me? Asked Naruto gently, his eyes cast downwards. I don't know, but if my dad doesn't like you then I don't like you. Goodbye, Naruto. Ino said, slightly bewildered by the words. Walking away, Naruto headed to the swing, heartbroken. Why don't the adults like me? I'm a good kid, I haven't done anything wrong. A tear slipped from the tip of Naruto's nose and fell onto his knee. I guess I just can't have friends until everyone likes me. How am I going to make that happen? I don't know why they all don't like me. Memories of the turned-up noses he'd get when he went shopping with his dad, the sneering nasty comments he'd get when he passed groups of people, and every other time he'd gotten ignored flooded over him. At one time, Hinata had appeared at his side, putting a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Will she leave too when she tells her parents? I don't want to be left alone anymore, I like having friends. I'll just have to make everyone like me. I'll be Hokage, like Gigi. Everyone has to like the Hokage. I'll be the best one ever, better than the Yondaime. Naruto thanked Hinata but said he didn't want to play. She nodded and waited while the blonde wiped his tears off his sleeve and walked away. I want to return home, Uncle Kakashi, Naruto stated as he approached the reading ninja. Naruto, what's wrong? Kakashi inquired worriedly, closing his book. I just want to go home. But Naruto was able to suppress the tears from climbing up his eyes once more. Ino says she can't be my friend. She doesn't like me anymore and I wanna dash. He caught himself on a half hiccup, half sob, go home. Kakashi picked up the crying boy, something that had not happened in a while since the kid never did remain stationary, and started off in the direction of the apartment complex. Naruto clung to his uncle's neck and buried his tear-smeared face in them. Yeah, hopefully Jiraiya would return home soon. Konoha, October 10th, Naruto's 6th birthday. Naruto strode down to the small apartment he'd lived in for the past 6 years. His arms were grasping a sack of snacks, instant ramen among them. In his mouth was the end of a dango stick, the tip of the treat barely below his lips. Naruto started to cut across his favorite alley shortcut and spotted one of his newest acquaintances. The puppy was brown and thin, its ribs prominent under its dirty coat. Naruto loved the dog, for no matter how dirty or pitiful the pup looked, he always had a smile and time for Naruto. Animals were much nicer than people, the boy had found. Animals do not judge you. Animals do not yell at you, or shoo you away from their stalls or feign being your pal. Hi boy, do you miss me? Naruto inquired, putting down his bag on a crate and sitting beside the dog. Happy Yips was his answer, and Naruto shared his last bite of dango with his friend. You and Hinata are my best friends, right? You wanna go see her today, buddy? Naruto asked, petting and playing with his friend. A minute of happiness passed. Not many things can be cleaner than a boy and a dog playing with one another. Then Naruto overheard a disturbance, and then there was a faint change in the mood. Then, without warning, his little friend screamed very loudly and in pain, and blood splattered onto Naruto's arms and face. A kunai was embedded in his puppy's ribcage. Holy fuck, a muddled voice at the far end of the alley. How you miss fucking that? Hey dude, I just shot the one on the left. MK, another equally intoxicated reply was heard. Naruto heard nothing else after that because his shock had become despair and desperation. His breathing was labored as he cradled the head of his deceased friend, sobbing tears down his cheeks. No. Please, was all that Naruto could get out. You hear that? One of the two shinobi addressed the wall. Little demon boy SSSS begging for his dash, a hiccup, his life. Ha! The tipsy man's opposite slapped him hard on the chest as he grasped another kunai with his free hand. How pathetic of him. I'll just take his tongue so he can't make to do it no more. Naruto scooped up the hot, and potentially still salvageable, dog and stepped back in fear. The two ninja loomed over Naruto, weapon at the ready. Naruto spun around to flee, but the kunai sliced through him and sent the crate and his bag crashing to the ground. Naruto stumbled over his own shopping, birthday goodies, and twisted his ankle. Damn! Alright, rule new. No more throwing. A disarmed attacker smiled as he walked up to Naruto. His ankle was the first to break. Naruto could have limped away on his sprained ankle as it was, but the ruthless ninja stomped a foot down on the broken joint, snapping it loudly. Naruto howled in pain and grabbed at his shattered ankle. Shut it, demon! The second ninja kicked Naruto in the stomach hard, and he crashed into the alley wall, his puppy flying out of his arms. Naruto's head crashed into the sharp edges of the wall and ground and immediately made his eyes blur. Naruto's mind was confused, and it only made him more confused as to why he was assaulted and accused of being a demon. Why did these men want him and his puppy killed? There was a hand suddenly clamped around Naruto's throat, and he was pressed into the wall by the icy grip. Naruto kicked his usable leg futilely at his attacker, and it was greeted by another kunai in his calf. Naruto was unable to even gasp in attempting to howl in pain. Hey, looky here, demon, the man huffed into Naruto's ear. His breath reeked of alcohol, and something hard was poking into the side of his belly. I'm gonna stab you right here, straight through this little boy Yuririri hiding in. Yes, you'll pay for stealing our mother away from us, you bastard fox. A thrown shuriken had followed this voice and had ended up stuck in Naruto's shoulder. I'm going to kill you, and you're going to die on the ground, bleeding to death. A slow, painful death. Better than a demon like you, Naruto felt rather than sense the knife cut him, deserves. All of a sudden, the world began to disappear. Naruto saw that somehow he was lying on the ground. Beside him was his dead dog, and Naruto could only think of one thing as his vision was filled with a somehow familiar white. At least I'll die with a friend. And everything was black.